Hi guys, and welcome to this Plunket 88 production. I'm your host Gareth Archer, and in this video I'm going to be giving you my thoughts, opinions and my general overview of Friday the 13th, the final chapter, the fourth entry into the series, but it's the not so final chapter. We all know there are plenty more films in the franchise, but at the time this was supposedly going to be the last film. So, straight off the bat, I'm going to say I enjoyed part 4, or the final chapter, far more than I did part 3. I thought part 3 was a bit too much by the numbers. I thought it was rushed in some ways, all those things. However, part 4, or the final chapter, gets off to a very, very good start. It takes place pretty much literally a day or the night after the events of the third film. All of the various teens and Jason is being put into a body bag and taken back to the morgue or hospital, what have you. And long story short, Jason's not dead. And very, very quickly, within 40 minutes of the film starting, Jason has made his first kill. We have Tom Savini doing the special effects once again, so the kills are pretty damn brilliant. Again, the kills are... The thing I like about the final chapter is the kills are pretty straightforward, but to the point, and they don't linger. They are bish bash bush done, and they are still quite graphic and quite impactful in their own ways. So yeah, the first two kills come very, very quickly. Then there's a little bit of a gap in order to give us a little bit of character development. There's a set of teenagers moving in from across the way from Tommy Jarvis and his sister and his mum. And long story short, this is the sex. These teens, all they simply want to do is bone each other. I mean, the amount of times they go skinny dipping, the amount of times that they do various flirtatious activities, kind of makes my eyes roll, to be completely honest. But at the end of the day, this is a Friday the 13th film, so why should I necessarily be surprised there is a bunch of flirtatious ness going on? Yes, that's a word you can look up in the dictionary if you want to. Flirtatiousness. Anyway, so basically these bunch of teenagers gives the filmmakers, the screenwriters, the plot writers... I do apologise if you can hear next door. They seem to be having a party, which I think I prompted because I was playing some music earlier, and I think they feel the need to exercise their appendage size, if you get my expression. Anyway, excuse me. So basically these teens allow the boning to start happening, and the boning starts happening with reckless abandon. Even while they're not even in their house yet, before they even begin to have sex, Jason is always making his way over to the house. He must have some almost predilection about there's going to be teenagers boning at some point. I've got to make my way over there. I mean, they weren't even boning yet. All that was happening was there was a couple of people in the back, talking about sex. One of them says they're horny, and then Jason's like a radar ears. Bing! Someone's horny. It means there's going to be sex at some point. So he makes his way. There's a hitchhiker. They can't fit the hitchhiker into their car. So basically Jason sticks a blade through her throat, and we get a dick joke, which is the whole banana thing. Actually, there's quite a few double entendres used throughout the film that aren't like directly euphemisms. They are sort of, how do I word this? They are visual euphemisms, which is actually quite clever, and I actually think that part of the film was actually pretty cool. Once the kills start happening, they come hard, fast, and they're pretty damn awesome, I have to say. The corkscrew kill, the hacksaw kill at the beginning where he twists the guy head off. Some of the kills are a bit more tame and a bit off screen. I assume that's to try and keep the MPAA at bay, but most of the kills are pretty decent. One thing I will say about the film is I like the fact it has a start, a middle and a definite end. The other three films are called to sort of left, sort of open-ended. in a way. Yet this film was definitive and had a start, a middle, and an end. Yes, of course, we all know where this goes, and it does sort of lead things open for the next few films. But I really, really enjoyed part 4, the final chapter. I really enjoyed it. The acting was the acting. The chase scene at the end, the fact that it sort of subverted your expectations in some ways. There are some kills you straight up don't get to see, but hey ho. And I think that the hitchhiker, the guy who was hunting for Jason, he went down a bit too easily for my liking. But hey ho, we all know later on we do get some confrontations with Jason, so the fact that he doesn't exactly give it to Jason in this particular film isn't really, viewing it with, in retrospect of 2017, we know that, Jason, plenty of other people get chances to go up against Jason and may or may not do better than he did. So from that point of view, from that perspective, I'm not necessarily going to hold the film against that one particular thing. I thought it was a much better shot, directed, produced, and overall better written film than the third one. That's going to piss a few people off, I know that. These are my own opinions. All I'm going to say is that if I ever watch 3, it's going to be a double feature. It's going to be 3 and then the final chapter. It will be like a double header. That's the way I'll probably watch those two, because I just think part 4, the final chapter, is a far better standalone film than the ones that have been before it. The catch up at the beginning where they show where, they go onto the campsite and he's telling them all about Jason and the myth, the legend that is Jason, and he goes through all the kills, and there's a nice montage. That montage is really well done, really well put together, and actually, if I'm going to say to anybody, if you want to skip the first 3 films, part 4 is actually a good way to end the franchise. Having said that, it's strange because it's called the final chapter, and yet at the beginning of the film they give you a summary of what's happened before it. So despite it being called the final chapter, in other words, they kind of expect you to see the films previously. They tell you what happens in the films previously, which is a bit jarring in some ways for my liking. But generally the film was really good. I actually say I really enjoyed the film. I liked that Jason was a very foreboding, relentless killer that did not stop for anything, basically. He was just there all the time, doing what he needs to do, bish, bash, bosh, sort of stuff. And of course, at the end, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, Jason does actually get killed by Tommy Jarvis, which I have seen reviews of part 4 / the final chapter. I keep calling it part 4. Don't know why. Maybe because the first 3 are called part 1, 2, and 3. Where was I? So yes, the actual kill by Tommy Jarvis. I've seen a bunch of reviews online, mainly by Deck of Shadow, to be completely honest, and I'd completely forgotten the scene by scene goings on of this film completely and utterly, and I think in some ways I was in for a treat when I watched the film. Also, the thing I like about the film, and I sort of hit upon this earlier, or touched upon this earlier, is it doesn't linger. It doesn't linger. You sort of someone see, like the mum came back to the house, and it's like, Tommy, are you here? Trish, are you here? Sort of thing. Then she goes outside and she gets killed, basically. They don't linger too long on the sort of people wondering what's going on, and then we know where it's going to lead. They don't leave us in too much suspense. Jason does what he needs to do, bish bash bosh. So I'm going to give this film, I forgot to rate the third one, I think. The third one, I gave it a 3, didn't I? I did give that one a 3. So what would I score the final chapter? What would I score the final chapter? I would score, you ready for this? I would score the final chapter, 4 homemade horror masks. That's 4 homemade horror masks out of twins. Doesn't make sense, does it? Because twins are 2 and yet horror masks, I'm saying 4. Doesn't make sense. 4 homemade horror masks out of 5. That's 4 homemade horror masks out of 5. Yeah, I just thought the film was really, really well put together. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm actually kind of wanting to watch it again. I really did enjoy part 4, also known as the final chapter. If you could, for me guys, leave a like or a dislike on this video depending on your feelings. If your feelings are more complicated, or if you wish to have a discussion with me or somebody else, then please pop a comment down into the comment section down below. As I do like to say, YouTube is a social media platform. Let's make it social. Let's take it back from the trolls. If you haven't already, you can stick around by pressing the subscribe button. You can stay up to date with what I do by pressing the bell icon. That will enable you to receive a notification to your device of choice every time I upload a video. And as always guys, you've been a very patient and supportive audience, and until next time, please take care, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Cheerio folks.